literally like the same conversation we've been having. It's just so that that appears on the video.
Yeah.
So hello everyone. Once again, we're here for another interview for a short film that has appeared on Cinebus the live show. This time, we have the honor of having with us Duane Adamoli,
Yeah.
filmmaker, writer, director of a film that's actually quite difficult to pronounce with a human tongue because the name of it is Another Piece of I'm going to have to censor that one probably instead of doing the so so I'm still deciding if I'm going to actually go and actually censor it on editing just to make it look fancier, or we're going to keep it like that. But I think I get the impression that the name is trying to say it's another piece of shit. Just maybe, just maybe.
Yeah.
So first of all,
Exactly
congratulations. I really enjoyed the film. Please tell us more about yourself so that you can get your moment of speaking.
Speaking. Funny you mentioned about the title because the more I think about it, it reminds me of the Netflix show End of the Fucking World. I just like the way that looked, you know, but you can't pronounce it End of the Fucking World. So I thought that was interesting. But no, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so you said it all. The filmmaker made another piece of shit. Oops.
See, I'm going to censor that. I'm going to censor that.
Yeah, so it was all done during lockdown, which is a weird time to make a film by myself, but with my girlfriend. Actually, she has no background, but I can't go around asking other people, so she was kind enough to help me. So no, you know, and she did so much above and beyond, and you know, we did it all in where I am right now. Actually, like this wall is where all the pictures on the film were posted, so we stuck them all up here and stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Sarah Pito, your girlfriend did an amazing job. An amazing job. I mean, basically it was a duo, a two-man thing, definitely from the looks of it. And again, it is very, very, very special that you did actually during the lockdown, because it actually looks quite good for being done in the lockdown. Like I remember that when I first saw it. It didn't come across like that, and I actually it had to be until the credits where it is actually mentioned. So I said, that is interesting. So this is one thing. Now this interview is slightly different to the ones we've done now because, funnily enough, you've already done basically half, if not most, of what I normally want to do in an interview. Why? Because I have to say that you did an amazing job in creating a behind-the-scenes video for this movie, Another Piece of Shit, which basically I have to say that it not only solves most, if not all, questions that you may get when you watch the film, technically or otherwise, but it's so nicely put together, and the presentation is so nice, it's so good, that it actually, in my opinion, it stands on its own. Like, it's as interesting as the short itself. Maybe slightly more because you get the struggle and the whole effort of actually creating the film.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, it is very interesting, and I'm going to actually be talking with the rest of the team to see if we can promote that video too through social media. And again, because it would be just a waste. I mean, to miss that. Like, everybody watching this should go to Duane's channel on YouTube and actually go and watch the stuff he's done, because not only Another Piece of Shit, but the behind the scenes of Another Piece of Shit is quite amazing. It's something quite engrossing. I'm going to see if we can maybe show it here or just through social media. We're going to be promoting it. And even then,
I definitely planned like making that. I remember seeing before making the lockdown film. I was like, you know, it'd be really interesting how this was made. So that was almost one of the main reasons to make the short film in the first place. So I put a lot. You know, I was thinking about the behind the scenes before thinking about the film itself, and it was a fun blend. And obviously that's an easy thing to edit, you know, sort of. But to make it, you need to make the film first. So it was a weird thing, spending a whole month for for just 4 minutes. So that was
Exactly. No, but in that sense, it feels like quite, quite, quite productive. It was quite good that you actually decided of going about it that way, because on another piece of shit you actually go and it's not one of. There's a lot of, we've seen a lot of shots made during lockdown, but another piece of shit doesn't try to be the lesser, it doesn't try to be too simple just because of that condition. You actually try to do things with quite some stuff with practical effects. You actually try to go quite deep into things to edit. Let's call them special effects, basically. Because you try to do some complex things and you actually achieve them. Actually, I have to say
Thank you.
so. In that sense, it is quite a pleasant surprise, and it's an engrossing joy to watch. Not only that, but you have also other really interesting stuff on your YouTube channel, like
Right.
this, your short series, your series of small videos. What is the name? Just give me a second. I had it right here. Basically, extremely beautiful, incredibly meaningless.
Yes.
Um, which, as the name implies, folks, if you're watching this, as weird as it sounds, it's literally like it's incredibly beautiful, but no, it's really beautiful, but incredibly meaningless. It's just basically videos of trivial stuff that, when shot from a specific angle and in specific conditions, they create a very mesmerizing and quite fascinating and even inspiring effect, visual effect. And you're adding music to that, but on the other hand, it makes you think that, yeah, this doesn't have a story, it doesn't mean anything. So it is a really
Yeah.
fascinating experience, and it says a lot. So in that sense, it is worth a look too. And then I have to say that I actually loved, and I consider a short film in itself, your video "I Am a Failure."
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Yep.
Like, that's, for me, that's a short film in itself, and it's something that everybody that's seen this should watch.
Hmm.
Which is basically a video about uh, kind of a self-narrated
Yeah.
story of you trying to go through with the creation of a short film and the struggles that come with that, and basically, yeah, and the realization you get at the end of it, at the end of the process of doing a film, where you, as most people in our situation do, we really don't feel like, oh, we're nailing it every
Yeah.
single day. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
It maybe for like 1 second out of 24 hours, you have that 1 million. Like, okay, this is great, and then you immediately bumped with, "Wow, I'm actually way over my head" and stuff like that. I think that was. It's crazy to think that was just February. I just looked at the date.
Hmm.
It feels like years ago because of the whole coronavirus, but no, yeah, that was a film that sort of helped me, stop being very obsessed with tools, with things, and all those efforts, and I guess that helped me make the another piece of shit, because I came to terms with things will never be as good as you want it to be. Things will never be as amazing, and those are
Hmm.
like pills of wisdom that people can tell you, but there was a catharsis that came with saying, you know what, this was bad, made a bad thing, but let's not wait. I think the point was, yeah, just share it, keep on doing it, and instead of just like hiding or like perfecting, which is great for Apple products, I guess, for
Exactly.
computer. But I think you can never really perfect your film. You have like that, so it's very difficult. But no, thank you for also seeing that as well.
Yeah, no, but it definitely made me raise to the point that I saw many times, which is the fact that whatever happened to you, you actually had a story there. For example, in the case of "I'm a Failure," like, it didn't matter what was actually going in real life. At the end of the day, you ended up having a story, and it's actually an entertaining story with a quite nice end. So that's kind of the irony of the situation, in that it is actually a good film, even though it's a story about how you were doing a film that you were actually feeling sure the whole time. I don't know if we're going to even see that one ever. So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
But
it.
we ended up having a nice one. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
surprise. So going back to another piece of history, for example, I like to just ask maybe one or two things that weren't covered in the behind the scenes. For example, like creatively in terms of the script and the story. What would you say were your inclinations? Where did you say did that come from?
The inspiration for the film.
Yeah, or the
That
story basically.
yeah. So obviously the story came from something from a concept that I've been always thinking about working on. Every time I guess when I want to make a film, it focuses on trying to on a sentiment, and the sentiment was, I guess, struggling with trying to create something. So in a way, for me personally, the film was semi-biographical, right? But with the twist, with like inspired from the films that I like. Um, but yeah, it comes from a larger idea that I hope to do in the future, for example. But then to make the Another Piece of Shit, I guess I took these concepts that usually maybe you always have like a really big idea, right? And you always want to do the big idea first, but then you have a small one right here that you always ignore. The small one that is actually achievable, and you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want the biggest thing. You go for that, and you fail. So I took, okay, let's not focus on the biggest thing. Let's focus on what I actually want to create, the core of it, and it was, which I was very happy to see, like. Apart from friends and family, people reaching out and saying it was really nice. People could relate to the concept of it. It wasn't just myself like being struggled, and everybody has that, I guess, that canvas that is haunting them, that project that they want to make, and until they make it. The ending could be ambiguous, obviously. I would never hope that it would end that way, but I think it's just a strong emotion to pull to get to be able to feel like, okay, so what does it mean when you put everything into it? Is the message really, is that good? Is that, how much of that is healthy? So I think it's 4 minutes, and I focused a lot on just creating a small narrative that people could understand. But I think there's a lot to unpack there on what does it mean to be an artist and all those things.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree absolutely. I mean, that's kind of fun. Art can be intimidating depending on who you are. There's some lucky few ones that somehow it comes with instinct and they just go and pop things out. But most folks, no, that's not the case. We had to actually uh, figure how to do something that's worthwhile that's worth for others to watch. Um, and the other thing interesting to me is that basically, as a filmmaker, I'd say that. You have you have high ambitions in the sense that you try to aim for complexity and to try to do complex things on camera. For example, just on this one, you already went for practical effects in a way that's quite fascinating to do for such a small project, just a 4-minute video. So
Yeah.
would you say that's normal for you, trying to go that way, trying to add practical effects or complexity visually?
Right. Yeah. I think that in a way, if the people who know me would say that that's one of my flaws, that I definitely go over ambitious for certain things. But in this scenario, what I did is I owned those flows, and I went like, no, I'm not gonna do something in space because that's unrealistic. But I ended up doing still floating in darkness, and I guess the main point is I always want to make sure that what matters is the story, because to get to point A, which is you establish with this character, and you want to go all the way to why are you watching this, to make sure people are always feeling, why am I watching this, until sort of ends, which is an interruption of the story. But the practical effects in this case, where I just couldn't see telling the story without representing the mind of the character. It sort of wasn't necessary. So really fueled by telling the story of the character, I was like, okay, we need to make paint slither. We need to make the paint move, the canvas move. We need to make him fall through a bed, and we actually cut some a bed sheet. We put some chairs. We made a bed fort, and so actually, and that was fun. It was just one day building a bed fort and putting the pillows in the spot, and then just falling through, which is always fun because when they're like serious films, you don't imagine people laughing behind the scenes, but there was a lot of laughing, I guess, because it's a very silly thing. But I'm glad that when put in the edit, it looks good. But yeah, no, practical effects was the toughest one. I think the hardest things, which I did not expect, was a lot on After Effects. So there was a lot of time spent there, you know, maybe even like being really angry, fumes coming out of your hand because this head because this is not working. But but at the end of the day, it took a lot of problem solving, a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and to get the job done.
Excellent. So yeah, I see that it is a recurrent theme, in what you do. Basically, the struggle in of man trying to achieve art or the beauty of art. Um, at the same time, would you say that that's going to still be a recurrent thing for you, or basically, to put it in better words, which other projects do you're looking forward to trying to do, or is there anything cooking right
Right.
now in your mind?
Definitely. No, that's an interesting question. I think every filmmaker, any artist, musician, whatever, wants to have that sort of theme, that sort of thing they're known for, a style. I know that as much as you want to look for it, it doesn't really exist until you've made a body of work. And so I guess if it will be a recurring theme, we'll definitely see in the next one that I make. Let's see. Who knows? But I think, the style sort of like forms with you and with that you grow. Now, I guess there's two levels of art making. There's the personal expression, and then there might be sort of like a social conscious that an artist wants to bring and talk about themes related to the world. And I guess in this case, I was trying to go for like a blend of both, and I want to keep on expanding on that. For like in my case, I guess the film Another Piece of Shit was very related to artists and their struggle, but I think there's also like themes to explore about minorities struggling as artists and all those things, and and any barrier blocks that happens as a creator. And I think there's a lot of untold stories there to explore, and I think definitely that's a place where I want to look at, and it's always delving around, I guess, loneliness. I don't know, because the character was very lonely. All these characters are just very, and I think when I personally watch a film like these, I feel less lonely. So I guess the effort is to make people less lonely.
Beautiful. Tell me about basically about how did you get here? Like, what kind of studies did you do, or how did you learn about filmmaking? What would your story be in getting into this world? And why?
Yeah.
How did it happen? How did it happen, basically?
What happened? I honestly have to thank my father. He gave me on my 13th birthday a camera. It was a tiny Panasonic blue. It was before iPhones and stuff like that. It was like a flip camera, and I was very mad because I didn't want it. But I ended up using it a lot, way more than expected. I got my friends and I started telling them, okay, you go there, you do this, say this. And we started making films, and with all my friends, we had this little community. But then as time went on, I realized, actually, this is great. It's a form of expression. It's a form of way, because I had to learn Italian. My first language was English, and then I went to Italy, so I'm from Italy originally, and then so sort of like using that was people would understand, and as more time goes by, I realized if I can create the right story, people can understand what I'm trying to say. It's like, instead of talking at a table about politics, I can express it in a film, and people can use that as a frame of reference and understand ideas. So I think that's really interesting. And then so after that, I was like, I'm going to pursue films, and I studied film for 3 years in the UK, and now I'm continuing to just make the best film, meet new people, so I can hopefully build a community of filmmakers, and as even through like Cinebooth and
Magnificent, magnificent. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually really looking forward to having the chance to actually meet you in person next time an event is possible, or whenever you want. You know what? That's the thing. Even now, we could just meet up one day and just talk about films or whatever, or about anything, man. It's always it's lovely actually getting to know you.
Absolutely.
So sorry, where did you study?
I studied I studied in the University for the Creative Arts.
I see.
Yeah, in Farnham, in a little small hamlet in Surrey. It
How was
was
the experience?
it was a different. My first experience of the UK was very British, and I think it was a very interesting one. I remember I vividly remember being confused by the two taps, because in most European countries you just have one tap that can turn around. There you had hot and cold, and I had to mix the hot and cold together. But obviously this has nothing to do with film. But I remember during my film studies, I was like, I need to remember to get the hot and cold. But I think it was a lot of fun. I learned, I think, the best thing, that the experience and understanding the world of cinema, you get a grasp of that, what it means, the industry. And I think which I guess in one way can make it more daunting. You really understand how far away you are from it, the things you need to do, the time it takes. But it's always good to have that information and not be afraid. And if you know that you have the right thing to say, you should keep on moving on.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to the next thing coming from you. Let's say now, let's go for tastes now. I'm wondering, so basically, I'm going to ask you the question that I asked to everybody, because it's a question that's always very fascinating to me, which is, if you could recommend one film, you had to say one film that everybody should see, which one would it be?
Oh my goodness. There's so many. Can I recommend two?
Yes, please.
They're going to be quite odd films, and I can't really explain why. But the first one is The Florida Project by Sean Baker. I highly recommend that, because I think it's, if you know the filmmaker, he made one previously all shot on iPhone, and this one was completely anamorphic, so highly beautiful scenes and all that. And I think I recommend that film because that is a film where there's pure observation and understanding for people and their plight and what it means. And it's generally entertaining. And on the same level, if you just flip, you could get your atlas and flip the world, and you land in Japan, I recommend Shoplifters, which is a film about a Japanese family in Tokyo. But you imagine Tokyo as this beautiful place, but it's actually the poverty in Tokyo. And I guess the common themes is that poverty, the outskirts, Florida, you imagine Disney World, but then what happens in the outskirts of that? Tokyo, what happens in the outskirts? So I think those are two films that are crafted nicely in terms of filmmaking, but also present an interesting story. And like, again, a way to understand. And I think that's the more important, when films can make you understand things and understand another person, you feel less alone, and there's more global community, I guess. But not to sound silly, but yeah, there's so much.
No, not silly at all. I mean that's amazing. I mean that would be the Florida Project, and Shoplifters. If I'm not wrong, I think that one was made by Hirokazu Koreeda, right?
Yes.
Or maybe I'm messing it up, which will be a massive tragedy.
Because then he made another, which is very odd. He made a French film after his next film was a French film. Very interesting filmmaker, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, it is. I love Japanese stuff. I mean, the only two places when I left Spain, there was just two places I thought I was gonna go. The only two places I'm interested in, actually. One of them was England, and the other one was Japan. And I said, okay, I'm better at English, so let's try England first, and then next up, let's go to Japan and see what happens. Oh my God, let's see what happens there.
That's the dream.
So amazing recommendations, by the way. What do you think? What do you think are things standing now, like with you, the film world? What is your outlook on things, basically?
Oh, like you mean like the film world? What's happening? I think that's a very tough one because of. And I think what's interesting now is that if you asked me this like a year ago, I could have given you a very semi-even accurate idea. But anything I say now is completely like I can tell you what this is the thing, I can tell you what I think, but it's
Yeah.
going to be 1% out of a billion opinions, and what is actually happening. I think that's very interesting, because I guess it's really hard to gauge, because you know, productions are on hold. And then I think that there's the we can call it the Hollywood side of things, the industry side of things, which could still keep on going, but then you don't understand the indie cinema. So what's going to happen to that? I still think what I definitely can talk about is what are going to be the next stories, because I feel like what anyone was making before the coronavirus, there was a flow of what was happening in terms of filmmaking and stories and what people are interested in. But now, with everything that's happening in the United States, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and all these things, and you're keeping in mind of all the issues that happen with the virus, you're like, okay, what stories are going to people make that an audience are gonna want to care about? And I think that when everything started, there was an abundance of content. Yes, so you can sit down and watch your Netflix for days, but that was all shot before. Even if something new is coming out, it's all shot before. So when is there going to be a difference in what people want to see? And I think that is the question. I wonder.
So, you know, I agree absolutely. It's very difficult to pin down or to guess whether things are flowing. My optimistic note is that maybe, just maybe, as we see that now, high budget productions are going to be very difficult to make, not only because of actually putting out that production together, but actually the fact that not as many people, you're not going to get all of those tickets sold because of reduced attendances on cinemas. Like, cinemas can only store about 40% of the total amount of attendees per room, etc., etc., etc. So maybe one good outcome of this may be that there's going to be a new wave of mid to low budget films being produced, like in the early 90s and the 80s and the 70s, where basically you will be able to actually get movies done and promoted for budgets from 2 to 10 million, or even less than that, dollars, whereas now a low budget film is 100 million.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
I think they need to change the definition of low, because we're not on the same page here. But yeah, no, I know. And also on that, it's going to be interesting to see, as you mentioned, like the theaters. I know everybody's excited for Tenet, but I'm wondering, you know, I think that would be the big example, like the Christopher Nolan film, of how people, how many, what is the Tenet's going to be?
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I think it's meant to be coming out today, right? Yeah. So actually, my brother is working at the cinema today, the day it's showing. So he's going to be able to tell me how does things look.
Exactly.
And let's hope that the film does, and let's hope that people go to the cinema, and let's hope that the film is good, because why not? I mean, Christopher Nolan is a filmmaker of this generation, and I just hope he manages to smash it out of the park.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you think? Are you a Nolan fan?
Oh, yes. Yeah, like I don't want to be a Nolan fanboy, but definitely, but there's a quality there that's undeniable, and his films are journey. I mean, I remember I know every time his films have a lot of talk. I remember everybody talked about Inception and being confusing. Like, there's always something that happens, and I think he's managed to maintain this standard of, like, boom, you know, there's an artist drop. It's the next film, and he's one of the few people that have that. I think right now franchises have that. Oh, the new Batman film is dropped, the new Marvel film is dropped, but there's few people that have that name, like Christopher Nolan. The new Nolan film is dropped.
Very few. No, yeah, my favorite from him is by far, actually, surprisingly, Memento.
Memento, incredible.
Yeah, the ending is just amazing. I mean, I like it from his stuff, because it's the one that at the end manages to have the most, in my opinion, the most powerful message or point to make, and it actually delivers it quite well. And it's very difficult to do on a movie that's so tricky and so gimmicky. You have an immense risk of literally crashing down and make everything feel pointless at the end.
Yeah.
And it works.
And I feel like his films are a one-time watch as well sometimes. Like in terms of after you've seen it the first time, you can't rewatch it and feel the surprise, you know, that you felt it, and
Exactly.
you can enjoy it. But it's like it's a one-time event. You need to really go there, and you know that there's going to be a pre yourself and then post yourself after that film. Every time
Exactly.
there's a new event, there's a new time zero, year zero of every Nolan film.
Yeah, absolutely. But I never went out and actually tried to find it or watch it. But maybe you know more about this than me. But I heard that there's actually out there a cut of Memento that's actually done in chronological order. Like
Ah,
you actually, I think it was an extra on one of the home video releases. It was either the DVD or the
remember
Blu-ray or
those
something
home
like
video
that.
releases? Remember the bonus features on the DVD?
Exactly, and it's something that I've been meaning to watch someday because that brings a lot of questions to me. Like, how does that play out in the for the audience? Like, how do you receive the story if you're actually managing to being able to see everything from chronological order, but you always watch the main character forget what you just saw with him.
Yeah,
So that could be. I wonder how does that work as a movie? Like, as
yeah,
a movie,
yeah,
how does
yeah.
that feel? Uh,
Yeah, it's
literally
like
it's literally the opposite from what you just saw in the actual film.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah.
I'm very curious. I think that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do now. Find the
Well,
or
tell me how that goes. Definitely tell me how that goes.
yeah,
So on that note, I've already taken a lot of your time, and we've done like 30 or 40 minutes.
right.
And I was trying to keep it short like that. But before letting you go, what I want to say is that obviously this interview for me, it is a first with you, but I don't want it to be a last.
Yeah,
What that means is that every single time that you finish a new project or you put anything out there, please just come to me or to Cinebooth, and we'll try to find a way to promote it, to show it in things like either the online live show, or maybe why not the live venue events when they happen again. And of course,
yeah.
whenever that happens, uh, my arms are open to do another one of these interviews for every and any single film that you manage to put out.
No, that's
So that's my pleasure, always.
absolutely. No, and I honestly enjoyed meeting you and talking with you and talking about Nolan as well. No, and again, just the whole idea of this, you know, filmmakers come together and having a, you know, thank you for having this platform. You know.
No worries, man. Is there any last comment or message you'd like to say on your own for whoever may be watching this, or because you want to get it out of you?
Oh, uh, the only thing that comes to mind is let's make more films and watch more films.
Amen to that, man. So you guys go and watch another piece of shit. Well, let's say it like that, and then go and watch anything and everything Duane does. I'm going to recommend you guys to go to Duane Adamoli channel on YouTube and go and watch I'm a Failure, the behind the scenes of another piece of shit, and every single thing he puts out. Because I'm sure there's going to be more stuff coming down in the future, and if we can, we're going to try to be the ones that actually puts that in front of you guys. So stay safe and see you next time.
Bye, guys.